morning and welcome back to day 6 of our Lent Readings for 2022, and we're continuing in the Gospel of Luke today. And yesterday we said how Luke had travelled with Paul, collecting accounts from eyewitnesses about Jesus and bring them together in a Gospel. And also mentioned that Luke records things not recorded elsewhere in other Gospels. So events like the birth of John the Baptist, for example, the shepherds visiting Jesus and the Nativity, stories like the Good Samaritan. And one story I want to read today of the prodigal son. We find it in Luke 15. Luke 15 contains 3 stories not recorded elsewhere by Jesus of 3 things being lost. The first being the lost sheep, where 1 in 100 is lost. Then the lost coins, where 1 in 10. And then the lost son, or the prodigal son, where 1 out of 2. Although in reality both sons in the story are lost. Now it's a longer reading than we've had so far, but we're going to read that together from Luke 15, reading from verse 11. Jesus continued, "There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, 'Father, give me my share of the estate.' So he divided the property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had. He set off for a distant country where he squandered his wealth in wild living. After he'd spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him out to the fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. Then he came to his senses and said, 'How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I'll set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I've sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer to be worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.' So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I've sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' So they began to celebrate. Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked him, 'What's going on?' 'Your brother has come,' he replied, 'and your father has killed the fattened calf because he had come back safe and sound.' The older brother became angry. He refused to go in. So the father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, 'Look at all these years I've been slaving for you, and I've never disobeyed your orders. Yet you've never given me a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you killed the fattened calf for him.' 'My son,' the father said, 'you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad, because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.'" What an amazing story. I want to look briefly at those 3 characters. The younger son, who asked for his inheritance. As a younger son, he would have been entitled to 1/3. The older son would have got 2/3. Yet that shouldn't be till the father has died. Effectively saying to the father, "You're dead to me. All I want is my inheritance. I can't wait for you to die. Just give it to me now." And the Pharisees who were listening to Jesus telling this would have been shocked that the father granted that request. Their view would, that son should die for what he's saying. Yet the father says yes. And it's a picture of God. And think about what happened in Eden. In Eden, we asked for what was not ours to have. And yet the father said yes. The son goes away to a faraway country, squanders it, and loses everything, ends up destitute with the ultimate indignity for a Jew of feeding pigs, comes to his senses and wants to come back, but knows he can't come back as a son, but hopes to come back as a servant. As he travels, he reaches the horizon and the father sees him. I expect the father had looked every day for that son. He runs, he embraces, he calls for a ring, a sign of authority, a robe, a sign of dignity, sandals, because slaves didn't wear sandals. That was a sign of acceptance in the family. And then they celebrate with a fattened calf. The younger son is brought back into the family, but the older brother is not happy. He hears what's going on and he's indignant. The father goes out to see him. The older brother can't even call him my brother. He says, this son of yours. Yet the father reminds him that this son, the younger son, was lost and has been found. You see, both sons are lost in this story. Both sons are estranged from the father. But as this picture of reconciliation says, he was lost, the younger son, and is found. And it's a picture of salvation. It's the picture of how God welcomes us back. And there are many pictures in the gospel of this. This is a picture of family, of reconciliation. But there's pictures like of the law court, where we're justified, we're pronounced not guilty. There's a picture of the slave market, where we're redeemed, we're bought out of slavery at a price. There's a picture of the temple, of atonement, of where a sacrifice is given to take away our sin. And all of these pictures together form the salvation of our God. How great a salvation is given to us. Let's think upon that this day. Until next time, have a blessed